This is a short video discussing the importance of word choice. Word choice seems like something simple, but yet it's really a difficult part of writing to work on because it's hard to sort of get out of habits and learn new words and build different patterns for yourself. But it's also one of the most important because word choice directly impacts your clarity and your tone. So not only can it help your writing be clearer for your audience, that it will sound better for other people, but then you can have a more professional or academic tone with it as well. I often hear students say to me that they wish they sounded smarter, or they wish they sounded more businesslike, or they wish they knew different vocabulary to use. And this is really all kind of getting to why that is important and how to work on that. So one of the ways to think about or to approach word choice is just a strategy for improving word choice is that it's about specifics. So you'll see that it literally says specific, specific, specific. The number one comment I make on writing is guiding questions to help students be more specific. Absolute number one. Doesn't matter the level, doesn't matter how strong the writer they are. That seems like the number one key thing that most writers can really work on. And when they do work on it, then they can see these really great results within what they produce. So when you're thinking about specifics, think about it sort of like this. Maybe I'm talking about the high school I went to, and I say, oh, when I graduated high school. A specific would be when I graduated and the name of my high school. When I graduated Lebanon High School, I da-da-da. So including titles, including specific names, specific dates, specific descriptions, sizes, views, details. It's that. It's all the little bitty tiny things. One of the sort of words that I learned when I was a college student, now is a word that I often teach my students, it's called minutia. And minutia literally means like minute things, tiny little pieces, but it's those little bitty pieces that can make your writing actually stronger. So you don't want to ever aim or feel like you're getting too specific. I would highly recommend the opposite. Try to be too specific. Don't worry about being don't worry about taking it too far. It's so rare that that happens that if you're in that position, that is great. But more than likely, you're going to need to be more specific than you currently are in your writing. Now, another piece of word choice besides just aiming for having those specifics is there are words that you're going to want to avoid in writing, particularly college writing, but also just words to avoid in sort of professional academic writing in general. Now, out in the business world, it may depend on who you're writing to and if it's personal, if it's professional, if it is to clients versus to a customer, or versus to a customer, client versus to a staff member. There's a lot of pieces that come into play, but some examples of words that you would want to avoid just in general would be things like the word thing. Right? It's fine when we use it in speech. We use it when we talk all the time. I just used it when talking to you. But I can use that word because I can clarify what I mean by it. Right? When I use it, I meant examples of words such as these. Now, when it's in writing, you don't get that. You don't get that additional explanation. You don't get tone. You don't get hand gestures. It's just the word on the page, and that word by itself is not specific or concrete or clear. The word stuff, very same example. Very doesn't give any extra information. It's not specific, it's vague. Lots, same thing. Many, same thing. Well, how many is many? Does that mean 2? Does that mean 10? Does that mean 2 million? Good. If I say you have a good grade, does that mean that you have a passing grade, or does that mean you have an A? Or is good for you a B? It's vague. We don't really know. Same thing with bad and better. So for like motivation, if you are talking and writing about why you're motivated about something, and you say, oh, well, I want to make a better life for myself and my family. What does a better life look like to you? Because your version of a better life might be a whole lot different from my version of a better life. So adding and getting away from these words and then adding in those detailed, more specific ones will just help take your writing to that next level and make it so much clearer for your reader to know what you're talking about. Also, please avoid using you and your. These are two extremely problematic words in college writing because they are often when in writing, they come across as offensive, or they come across as just simply unclear because we don't really know who you mean by you. All right. Instead of using those words, replace them with whatever group you mean. If you mean teachers, say teachers. If you mean students, say students. If you mean law enforcement officers or public officials or the president or whatever person group you actually are referencing, use their formal name instead, their actual name of the group. Include details. Again, aim for being detailed. One strategy for this will be to go through like every sentence you have in a paragraph or in an essay and try and add one detail to that sentence, one more specific detail. And that's a way just to push you forward. You can also go through and ask questions such as, well, what do I mean by this? How did that happen? Why do I feel this way? Or why did this occur? What do I mean by that? And any of those little questions, they'll just push you to be a little bit more descriptive and detailed as well. And then the description piece, this is where you got to go beyond just assuming that your reader knows what you're talking about and actually describe it. So going back to those vague words to avoid above, if I say something like, well, I went to a good movie over the weekend. What about it made it good to me, right? Well, I went to a movie that made me laugh so hard I thought I was going to pee my pants. Now that's descriptive, right? Maybe I went to a good movie because I was so scared that I almost had to leave, or I hid my eyes the whole time, or I trembled with fear. Or maybe I watched a movie that had emotion to it, and so say, oh, I had tears running down my face the entire time, or by the end I was crying uncontrollably. That's a lot different than just saying the movie was good, right? So it's really getting into some of those sensory details, describing what it felt like, looked like, tasted like. If it's, if you say you ate something that was good, well, what made it good? What did it taste like? Getting those sensory details. That's a type of description that is often missed, but yet can add so much to what you're talking about. So don't be afraid to try and add in some of that feeling into your writing. That can be a way to connect with your audience and to help make what you're saying clearer. And you can absolutely do that while still having a professional tone to your writing. So all this is something that takes work. It's not something that you're going to just master in, one sit down. But if you start thinking about these things and working on some of the pieces, your word choice will improve, and then as a result, your overall writing will improve as well as your clarity and tone become stronger. So any questions about word choice, feel free to ask. Other than that, hope this helps your writing become a little bit more concrete and clearer for your audience.